Well, good morning, everybody. It is Writer Wednesday yet again. It's like these things come around so often. I don't know what the deal is. So here we are. It is Wednesday, April 15th. Kind of crazy because today is my daughter's 11th birthday. I'm not quite certain how that happened, but she is actually 11. Yeah, it's creepy. But, hey, we have acquired a new family member named Gizmo. It's a leopard gecko. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that quite yet, but I will keep you informed next week. So this week, I want to talk about COVID-19. Okay, so this whole pandemic has been throwing a lot of people for a loop, and everybody handles it a little bit differently, obviously. We've talked about that in previous episodes. But for this week, I really want to talk kind of about the mindset of productivity at this point in time. So as authors, I really believe that we have such a wonderful opportunity. Now, this is not going to be a typical, use this time only as being super productive and getting all this stuff done, even though I am the rapid release queen, okay? I get it. Rapid releasing is fantastic, and it accomplishes a lot of things, especially if you're trying to earn a living as an author. However, productivity isn't all about velocity. They're different, okay? So when you're rapid releasing, you are reaching a velocity. You're trying to make things happen. You're making it happen in a quick manner, right? Productivity, though, is fickle. So productivity for you could be a little bit different from what it is for me because every person's a little bit different. I happen to be a high achiever or a high performer. I like to be busy. I like to get a lot of things done, and I have a huge to-do list. It's just the way I operate. But I also know when I get too overburdened, and so my productivity level decreases by doing too much, and it probably is the same for you. So here's what I want you to be thinking about. What kinds of things help you to increase your productivity and creativity at the same time? We're both authors, right? So in order for us to create, what sort of conditions do we need in order to help that to flourish? And I think, good morning, David. It's nice to see you on here. As always, my friend, very cool. And thank you for my daughter. Yes, thank you. She is a crazy girl. I'm so glad I'm not the only girl in this household. And we're hoping Gizmo's a girl. We're not quite sure, but we'll find out. So when I'm thinking about productivity, right, for myself, for my writing capabilities, the first thing that I really kind of do is give myself a little bit of space. So I don't know if this happens with you, but if you get too busy and you have too many things going on, you don't have that stillness inside of yourself to know where it is you're supposed to be operating out of. What kind of stories are trying to come through? What kind of vision do you have for the worlds you're creating? Anything like that. It gets very clustered and cluttered, and it's hard to be able to be your best self, right? So the first thing I really want you to think about, and this is going to be different from my podcast, so if you do listen to the podcast today, it is a little bit different. But the first thing I really want you to be thinking about is, where can you incorporate stillness into your day? I want you to think about those times of the day when you feel the most frazzled, and can you retrain your brain to help you to pause for a moment, to give yourself that little space, that little beat, maybe it's 5 minutes, whatever the case might be, just to calm down and think through what it is you're feeling and why. So if you're starting to feel overwhelmed with the pandemic and all of the feelings and things that are arising because of this, ask yourself the question of why. What opportunities are coming up for you that are really making you feel anxious or scared or feel fearful or whatever, and allow them to kind of move through you. Because as authors, we have the capability of being able to process information in a different way than most people. So we can take that information, we can internalize it, and then we can mold it to our will and create really fantastic, wonderful stories based off of it, rather than holding on to the fear and letting it dictate us or have us be frozen in fear. Most of us will have the capability of being able to verbalize it through our words, right? Whether it's verbally, literally, or if it's written down, okay? So when you're able to get still on how you're really feeling, those words come out differently, and you're able to be present with it in a way, I guess, that maybe you wouldn't be if you were trying to just force yourself through with sheer force, okay? So one of the things I do recommend, obviously, is being bored. So creativity is is bred through boredom. We can't create like our best stuff if we are constantly busy. And so if you have that moment, or if you do feel like you want to be creating, give yourself just a little bit of space to be bored. Don't do anything. Don't look at your social media. Don't try to watch a TV show. Just kind of allow your brain to be bored, because what happens is it wants to do something. Your brain is wired that way. You have to do something. So it's going to start coming up with its own things to do, right? It's going to start creating stories. It's going to start spinning things. Sometimes that can be a bad thing. So like if you're spinning those stories of, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world, we're all going to die. Okay, maybe not the best story unless you're going to write it down and turn it into some sort of horror post-apocalyptic thing, okay? But not in a real life scenario. Not for yourself. You want to be able to create the stories that are going to flourish outside of yourself in a series, in a single book, however it's going to manifest for you. And one of the things that I like to do is really kind of get myself amped up for the writing process. So I do this in a couple of different ways. So for myself, I write all the time. So I'm writing in the morning, I take a break, and then I write again in the afternoon. But they're different. They're different types of writing. When I first get up, I'm always doing my novels, because that's when my brain is the freshest, probably is for you as well. But you might be more creative at nighttime. So it just depends on who you are, what you do, kind of how you feel about your writing situation. And actually, your brain gets used, it's kind of like working out. Your brain gets used to the specific time that you're training it to write. And so you have that internal clock that will start to kick in and let you know, oh, okay, it's almost, 8:30. This is about the time you usually write, so let's give you some cool ideas. And now you're ready to go. It's the same with workouts. So if you usually work out at 11 o'clock, 11:30, whatever, your brain will start releasing the chemicals to help you with your performance. It's just an automatic thing. And so it's kind of that ritual that you're getting into all the time. So if you can, and you're new to this whole writing throughout the day process because maybe you've been laid off, or perhaps you have a little bit more time because you're working from home, these things happen. But at the same time, you might not be at the level of being able to write all day long. So if you have the whole day, writing all day maybe isn't the thing. So you want to be thinking about sprints. You want to be putting in the timer where you're only writing for a certain set period of time, and you're writing as many words as fast as you possibly can. And that can start as low as 5 minutes and can go up as high as you're able to logistically accomplish. I would recommend probably starting no further than 30 minutes. But once you get the hang of it, once your mind is flexing that muscle of writing, you're going to look up at the clock and you're going to be like, oh, my 30 minutes just turned into 3 hours. In case you can't tell, my clock is that way. So these things happen, and that's a good thing, because that means your brain has been able to expand outward and be able to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, especially if you get into a really fun scene. That happened to me yesterday. I was writing the whole scene, whole chapter came out in one go. It was fantastic. So allow yourself the time to kind of grow and let your brain get used to writing if you're not already used to it. And now, in this COVID-19 situation, if you are home with other people like we are, we have kids all over the place. And most of them are going to be calling my name at some point, if they're not calling for my husband. He is our resident homeschooling person, the person who is actually helping with all of that stuff right now, because I am not laid off, so I'm still working on a daily basis. So I help when I can. He does the rest, and it's fantastic. But there are still certain times of the day where they will start to call for me and want to be like just in the middle of things, and I have to stay focused. So they know, I kid you not, this is what I do. I have big, gigantic, cover the entire head headphones. And so what I do is I put them on, and it operates in two forms, right? It operates in the fact that I no longer can hear like all the crazy, sometimes it's just crazy in this house too. So it's not just if they're calling your name. But if you need that attention to be focused on whatever it is you're doing, put the big headphones on. It blocks the extraneous sounds. So if you are getting overwhelmed with too many things going on, because in a normal workplace, it's not as crazy as when you have 5 kids and a husband who likes to saw in the garage. So it can get a little bit nuts. I'll put my headphones in and I can just kind of tune the whole world out. I'm able to use my music in a way that hones in my attention to whatever it is I'm working on. But it also acts, number 2, as that visual reminder to the kids or to the husband that, hey, if these things are on my head, there's a good chance I'm not going to hear anything that's coming out of your mouth. So make sure that you, number 1, catch my attention. And if I go, what? And take them off, then okay, proceed. But if I go, hang on, it's probably not a good time. So it does help with that whole concept for them to be able to get into the habit of those boundaries and knowing when to approach you and when not to. So it's very, very helpful. At least I have found that. One more thing I'm going to say about this COVID-19 situation, well, there's probably 2 actually. I do want you to get some exercise. So there's 2 reasons for it. Always, there's multiple reasons, but 2 reasons in specific for it. So the first one is obviously you're getting your cardiovascular endurance training, strength training, whatever the case might be. So if you're using like high intensity interval training, that's a good thing, because what you're doing is you're boosting your oxygen levels all throughout your body. You're building muscles, it's great, but your brain is actually getting a lot of that oxygenation happening as well. And so it is able to do so many wonderful things when it comes to your creativity. If you are in the middle of a scene and you're feeling sluggish or you're feeling stuck and you go work out, oftentimes your brain almost resets because of the oxygenation. You might get an idea in the middle of a workout and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's how this should end, or oh, that's what I was missing. Aha! And then you can come back into your scene and write it with more clarity, because now all of a sudden you gave that space again to be able to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And working out also, obviously, it makes you feel good. It releases endorphins. It helps you to kind of shut off any of that worry. It helps you to de-stress. There's so many reasons to be working out, but especially now, and especially now that it's spring. You can't see out my window, but it looks like fall at the moment, not spring, but it is nicer. And at least there's no snow on the ground. So get outside, enjoy some of that fresh air, allow yourself to kind of, even if it's just a walk, go for a walk, clear your head, listen to some podcasts. You can be productive as an author, as a writer, even when you're not writing. You can be productive by listening to things like this. You can be productive by dictating when you go for a walk. One of my mentees does that all the time. I cannot do that to save my life, but that's just me. And so it just depends on what you're looking for. But get outside, get outside and work out. Do a workout at home. Obviously, you can't go to the gym right this moment, but move your body. It's very beneficial in so many ways. And then I guess the last thing I really want to highlight for today, it's not all of I have 9 tips on the podcast today. So if you get a chance, go out to authorrevolution.org/25. I can't believe there's 25 podcast episodes already. That's nuts. But there are 9 tips that I give you. But my last one, so if nothing else, if you do not listen to the podcast, and if nothing else, this is as far as you get, one of the things I really want you to think about and be mindful of is giving yourself grace. So there are a lot of posts, don't get me wrong, about increasing your productivity. Now's the time to get all the stuff done. And from the perspective of a rapid release queen, I agree to a sense, but I also don't. Because I do feel that we are all in our own space when it comes to this. I was never more humbled than that when I brought up the fact that I wasn't quite sure what made this particular pandemic different from others when it was first initially started. Like why the level of quarantine? What is going on? And it's because my brain wants to understand, right? And my friend really didn't understand it. She really was kind of upset with me because she was like, can't you just like be more empathetic and be quiet about these things? Well, and for me, it's like, I need to understand. I need to know why. Why is this? And I'm not someone who leans on fear. So that's not my crutch. And so I want you to think about, how you're handling this whole quarantine, the COVID-19 pandemic, keeping yourself safe. How you're handling it is going to be different from how someone else is handling it. And so give yourself grace. Give them the grace to feel what they're feeling. And know that you can still be together in the middle. There's still that common ground there. And it's still something that, if you talk about, you probably figure out, okay, so that's why you're responding this way, or that's why you think about it that way. And it helps you to create that communication bridge. So use it as an opportunity if you disagree with someone about this whole situation. Use it as an opportunity for understanding and opening those doors and lines of communication. When it comes to your productivity in writing, I want you to think about who do you want to be when you're done with this? When the quarantine is over, where would you like to be? And if that just means knowing yourself as an author more and knowing where your direction will go for maybe 2021. I mean, whatever the productivity level is for you, if it's planning, if it's prepping, if it's just letting your brain break and not like have a mental breakdown, but like give it that brain break to just be still, that is productivity, my friend, in action. That is actually giving you the gift of clarity. And so accept that gift. It's a wonderful gift. And if you have the space for it and you don't have to be working at something else, at another job, and you're able to just kind of take that relief and that break, do it. Because it might not come around again for a while. You never know. Things will pick up. It always is this way for me. I don't know if it is for you. But when you are working all the time and all of a sudden you have that kind of that lull and you kind of go, oh my gosh, especially as freelancers. I'm a freelancer as well. So when you have that lull in your work, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This is going to be like the worst ever. And honestly, it's just, I've found over the years, it's just the universe kind of slowly letting you kind of calm down a little bit before the crazy cluster where every client comes out of the woodwork, I swear to God, on the same day. And now all of a sudden you're crazy again. So just take that breath. Take the breath, let it be still with it. And think about it this way. When you're done being still, your brain has just gained so much insight because you are no longer having to process so much information from second to second. So that is my 2 cents on the idea of productivity for authors during COVID-19. I don't think it's probably what most people expected because it's not usually how I operate, but it is how I am trying to look at my life right now. Even though I'm busy, even though my job has not stopped at all, I am still using it as a crutch, I guess. I don't know if crutch is the right word. As a way to be able to look at my own life and look at how I want to design my career, my author life, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? Because if everybody else is doing it too, I'm like, why not me? I can think about these things. I can think about, okay, so is my situation right now exactly how I would like it to be? And if it's not, how do I change it? And I want you to be thinking about that as well. Hey, TJ, it's so good to see you on here. All right, guys, that's what I have for you today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was inspiring, and I hope that you go out and rock this day, rock the world, get some writing done on Writer Wednesday, even if it is just for 5 minutes. Just get like 3 words down, and you've accomplished something today. Okay, have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.